Hello, everyone, and thanks for watching this episode of A Podcast. That's what we're going with. We're going with podcast.
Oh, I love it. That's the best title ever.
And that's the theme song.
Carl's with this time, as well as Diego and Marshall. So, real quickly, before we get into things, they recently released Smite on the PS4, so I'll have some footage of that in the background here. It's pretty nice, but obviously it was meant to play on the PC, but I've been having a lot of fun with it. And I would also go and tell you to go buy the Founders Pack, but it's been taken down now. I don't know if you can actually get the Founders Pack, though, because it came with all the gods, and it was really, really nice. But anyways, so, last month, before we get into any of this month's news, we kind of brushed past Far Cry Primal, which launched at the end of last month, but none of us on the podcast last month actually talked about it because we hadn't actually played it. So,
I have beaten it.
I'm going to hand it over to Carl because he has played. So, Carl, just why don't you tell us what you thought of it?
Okay, if you guys want to go back in time to a world that was chaotic and basically a living hell to start out in, I mean, holy shit, I'm surprised humans lived. But Far Cry Primal takes you on a journey through time and well, not space, but it sounded cool. But you basically, you literally, it's more of a survival game than any of the other Far Cries that have been released so far, in my mind at least. I mean, you really thought like, oh, surviving, I have guns, that's not really surviving.
Yeah.
What was the most changed
Far Cry 2 was kind of
probably the most changed feature that people actually, I read comments that people made on the game, and they were like, I want to see the wingsuit again. And that's impossible because they're cavemen. They
could make something like.
I guess you could take the bird wings and wear them, but
it's like a pterodactyl. You would be an outcast.
They don't have pterodactyls in the game. I'm positive.
It's the Ice Age, not.
It's not the dinosaur age.
They have some giant bird like the Thunderbird.
The Thunderbird, that'd be something.
That would be a cool DLC bird to add. So, if you would.
Giant Argentavis.
Just you know what to add is the Thunderbird. But if they add the Thunderbird, we will all die because the Thunderbird is huge.
It will pick you up and just fly away.
What I was hoping to see, probably some of the best things is the hunting. And, people were like, oh, so skeptical about the taming of the beasts. Like, what's that all about? Why we get to tame beasts? Doesn't that make it too easy? No. It's awesome. Don't complain.
So how were, say like a boss fight, how
a boss fight? Most of the boss fights would be like the leaders, which are, you had two different tribes in the game. And people know this from the trailers if you've watched it. But if you haven't, the two tribes in the game, you have the Unam, which are the ones that you always see on National Geographic. They always, put skin over a monkey's head or something.
Yeah.
And then
protruding foreheads, etc.
Exactly. They look like crab, basically. But they're so much fun to kill. I'm sorry, they are just a joy to kill. Anyway, but then you have you fight their leader, who's Uul. Literally, his name is Uul.
Interesting names.
They're not expecting much. No, I'm kidding. He's actually probably, in my book, he was probably one of the toughest ones. But then again, you have to think about, I'm not going to go into details on how you beat him or where you beat him, but anyways, so you basically have to fight him, and he's one of the major boss fights. And then you also have to fight the Azila tribe leader, which is Batari, and she is a badass as well. She's a psychopath, too. She's crazy.
Is she similar to, Citra in any way?
Yeah, I almost thought she was Citra, basically like a past Citra.
Yeah, Citra's like her.
There's always a Citra now.
Guys, I do have to say this, but spoiler alert, so if you guys,
I'll put a spoiler thing up on the screen, so.
If you guys, I just have to say this, because this was probably my favorite part about Far Cry Primal right here, was the fact that they brought spoiler alert, they brought Herc back. His name is he's a caveman and his name is Urki, but his language is like ooga booga ding a burger go ding bohu. That's how he speaks.
That is amazing. I gotta say, that's the best thing I've heard.
Parkwalksnay, that's how he sounds. He's like a redneck caveman. And it's awesome.
God. That does sound really cool.
And you do so many stupid missions. There's this one, spoiler alert again. This is one. Everything is. I'm sorry. I have to tell you guys this though, and everybody out there who's experienced it, or if you haven't, then you should probably pause the video and skip it or something. I don't know. But you do so many crazy missions. Like he's trying to. He wants to be strong like a rock. So there's a mission where you collect rock, and then you literally He's like, go ahead, throw a spear at me. And you basically throw a spear at... My favorite one was the first one because it's like fly like bird.
That's cool. I think, that's pretty definitely reliant.
Literally, you collect 2 feathers, and he's holding 2 feathers in both hands, and he's like flapping them, and he's like, Parquash, me. He jumps off a cliff and like lands in a hay bale. And there's literally, when you go up to the hay bale, there's literally blood everywhere, but somehow you can hear him grunting in the hay bale.
Oh, he's still fine, yeah.
You know what I did? I did a test.
He's
that was so
awesome.
awesome.
You could take it.
You guys could try this. It's probably my favorite thing. Is when you know how you can pick up dead bodies and move them. So I pick up Herc when he's lying down, and I just like throw him in the water, and you can still hear him gurgling under the water, like.
Is that the last time you see him? Is that like it?
No. There's like you have like 6 missions because somehow he's still alive. There's actually one where he's like,
they're not gonna make you kill Herc.
No. In fact, by the end of it, he joins your village.
Cool.
But anyways, some of the cool aspects is like when you have to hunt like legendary animals, like it's so epic.
Yeah,
you do that in the other Far Cry.
Even in Far Cry 4, that was some of my favorite side missions. Was the legendary animals.
But there's nothing more intense than fighting a full-grown woolly mammoth that is like been attacked for like probably 50 years, man. That thing it's an aged, angry woolly mammoth, and it like just decimates everybody around it. And it nearly killed me a whole bunch of times. If I didn't have my other legendary animal that I had tamed with me, I probably would have died because it killed my legendary animal so many times, and I had to keep reviving it.
Okay, so let me ask you this. How is, I know a lot of other people didn't like this game as much as other Far Cry's because you were gathering stuff way too much, and it just became
that was to me. I think that like made it more intense. Like you could run out of arrows really fast. And
it just seemed like you gathering plants, gathering all these resources for village, and it just seemed like you were just running around gathering stuff.
I mean, isn't that every single Far Cry almost?
Well, you don't have to.
In the other ones, it wasn't necessary. But you have to realize you're a caveman. You're trying to survive.
It makes sense.
Jason Brody and I can't remember the other one. RJ was. I mean, they could go back to villages and stuff. But you were constantly being attacked. Seriously, I've defeated the Udam and the Azila, and I'm still getting attacked by Udam and Azila wherever I go. So it's very intense, unlike the other Far Cry.
Well, that's just because they need to provide enemies for you to face.
But in the Far Cry 4 and in Far Cry, Far Cry 4 fixed it. But in Far Cry 3, if you completed the island 100%, there was literally no enemies except this one little pocket on the island that I kept finding. It was a glitch area. And that was, I think they fixed it in Far Cry 4. I'm not sure. I don't know if they did.
Still enemies. I mean, there's a lot like around the strongholds or whatever. Like all those enemies would clear out, but you'd still encounter the guys driving
on the road and stuff. Yeah, but I mean that aspect is nice that they brought it back. But I like the fact that you can light pretty much every weapon on fire. That's probably my favorite aspect. Throwing a flaming club at your enemy is just. You just feel alive.
And it's really cool, too, because that's the thing Far Cry's done.
I gotta talk about nighttime. They changed it completely. I mean, Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4, nothing. Not a big deal. You hardly ever got attacked by the animals. The animals in this game are so ferocious. They almost attack you all the time. Never have a chance to not be attacked by an animal.
Yeah,
whether
they were
it's
already really abundant in the previous games, but they seem even more so.
Oh, in this game, you'll find like 10 different animals. You'll find a cave bear, a saber-tooth, all in the same area, and they'll attack you if you even look at them. And at nighttime, it's so much deadlier. The enemies are stronger. It seems like the animals are stronger, most definitely. But I love the aspect where, like, in the other Far Cry's, this wasn't a big thing. Like, they hadn't really fully fixed, like, some of the graphic things. But you can literally see the glow of the animal's eyes at night. And I love that because that makes it more intense. Especially if you don't have a torch lit or something, because you'll be screwed at night if you don't have a torch. So
okay, so I'm curious, did they fix their fur textures? Because in Far Cry 4, there was a big issue where, like, you'd get up close to the animal, if you looked at their fur, it would like almost hurt your eyes to look at it. Like,
I almost believe that
it was like a bad 3D.
Did. It looks a lot better. I will say that because I mean, I'd have to take some screenshots and show you, but. I have to admit, they did all right. It's not like perfect textures for the fur, but I would say it's way better than 4 and 3, for sure.
Yeah, I don't remember what the texture was like.
But I never have the problem where it like hurts anymore to like look at the animal while you skin it or something.
Yeah.
But you know, and they also brought back the demon fish, but it's called a bite fish.
Yeah. Well, I guess I could easily see them getting away with that.
But the range of animals and also taming animals and crafting weapons and stuff. You can just craft on the go, and you upgrade your weapons to look cooler and much better.
So how many varieties of weapons are there? I know there's a bow.
There's
spear,
3 different bows,
is there anything else?
And they each have different.
Well, no, just base weapons. Like what kind of variety of weapons are you going to be using?
Well, you have your basic. You have a club. You have your spears. You have your bow. You have your throwing daggers. You have your bombs. You have 2 different types of bombs. You have like distraction bombs. You have. I don't know if you have smoke bombs, but I know you have. Oh, you have bee bombs, smoke bombs, berserk bombs, and flame bombs.
Okay. So it seems like there's a fair amount of variation within those categories.
And
generally speaking, I feel like
if you get into detail, you have 3 different types of clubs. You have a heavy club, a basic club, and then there's a Ubisoft club that they give you for the game.
And it's just a regular club that says Ubisoft on it.
No, it's literally like picture a caveman and he sees an animal and he's just like, I want that bone so I can turn it into a club. That's basically what it is.
So yeah, real quickly,
for spears they have.
Wrap up Far Cry Primal. Okay, so Carl, in the end, I guess, would you say the game was worth your time and money?
And, for sure.
How would you think it compares to
considering
other
the DLCs that they have, and I still haven't completed everything in the game. That's what's crazy to me. Is because Far Cry 4, boom, every stronghold. Far Cry 3, boom, every stronghold. This one, I still have question marks on the map. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. So for me, I'm not really sure.
You have to also think about that.
It is probably the most vast and beautiful and most gorgeous world I've ever played in a Far Cry series.
I feel like that would be tough to beat Far Cry 4 because Far Cry 4 had a variety of environments.
I like Far Cry 3's environment better than Far Cry 4.
I was going to say the same thing. I was like, if I had to say anyone was better, it would be the island setting.
I think Far Cry 4 had the better scenery, though, because you'd be in the mountains and the snow effects were really
good. You should play Primal because it looks pretty much like... When you look off in the distance, you see huge, huge glaciers. Just, beautiful surroundings. And the sunsets and the sky textures. And, oh, my gosh, it's just so beautiful to just stare at. And they have redwood trees that you walk through. Okay. Talking about big, big trees and... beautiful place. It's just awesome. And they brought the rope climb back, the hook.
Yeah.
The climbing hook.
Okay.
Which was
awesome. Those were some advanced cavemen.
Yeah, definitely.
Clever
world's
Indians,
first
if anyone
engineers.
gets that.
So if I would highly recommend it to anyone who is interested in wanting to survive and be the ultimate caveman, basically.
Yeah. Well, I know Diego and I were really skeptical about it, concerned that it wouldn't.
I ended up.
I'm not completely sold on it yet, but I'll definitely pick it up when it goes, maybe down to $20 because I'm really kind of curious what it has to offer for myself.
Oh, it does have quite a lot, I believe. I find that most people would enjoy it. I will say this: I always play my games on a really pretty low difficulty because I never know what I'm getting into. So.
For me, I just go solid medium, and then
I know most people do that because they want more of a challenge. So I will say, from my experience, it did go quick, but I would say that's because I had it on the easy. I was playing it on easy.
Yeah, I normally do normal, and then if I play it again, I do the hardest difficulty. But with that,
but even then, I still had trouble, and I was still dying, and man, it was really hard to get used to because I was just like, man, I literally have to survive.
Yeah, when I played The Witcher 3, I actually did it I almost did it on the hardest difficulty, but I did that one on the second hardest difficulty. But anyways, to wrap up Far Cry Primal, though, also, none of us have actually played it on the PC, but the PC optimization, I don't know if they've released new drivers that improve things, but the PC performance is really bad on that game, and, I don't know.
That seems to be a running theme lately.
Well, it all depends on who does the port, and this one they did, it was Ubisoft Kiev, I believe, that did the port, and they kind of have a bad track record.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways, but it doesn't run at the frame rates it should, for this setting. So once they, if they got those drivers out, hopefully it's improved by now, and, if you have, like, a GTX 780 or whatever, hopefully you'll be able to actually run it at 60 frames. Because before you couldn't. So anyways, moving on from there. So the first piece, that was some February news, still wrapping that up, but for March news, big profile release this month was Tom Clancy's The Division. I'm not going to say much about it, except for you can go and watch my other content that I put on the channel if you want to hear more about it. I put up the review actually last night, and it's a little longer than I wanted it to be, but anyways, I spent 26 hours on it. It's way too much because I used the YouTube video editor to edit it a lot. So it was a terrible process, but I finally got it out, and the one thing I do want to mention about it, though, is that I gave it a score of a 6 out of 10 at the end, but just during the editing process, which took me about 4 days to do, I, was kind of thinking more and reflecting about my experience on it, and I think I might have scored it a bit high. And
really?
After
I was going to say maybe...
Because I was already on the edge of whether or not I was going to give it a 6 or a 5, which, a 6 would be like above average, whereas a 5 would be just like a really average, mediocre, kind of just... It would be a decent game, and that's what The Division is to me. It's a decent game.
Yeah, all right.
But
I just want to say that, I had a rather negative experience with the beta. But you seem to be really enjoying yourself. I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, well, it's got its moments. If you watch my review, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's I don't know. There's just one of the other things that really sold me on it, because I was already on the edge. I mentioned that in my review. By the time I got done with it, I kind of had came to the decision that I would probably give it a 5 instead of a 6. But I had already recorded, the commentary, and I already given it a 6. But I'm going to change that in the review. However, when I was waiting for my review to upload, I watched a couple other people's reviews, and they were talking more about the high-level Dark Zone stuff, which was the one thing that I didn't really get to experience, because I didn't spend a whole lot of time in the Dark Zone, because I already overplayed it in the beta, and I think I went up to, like, level 18 or something like that in the Dark Zone, but DZ rank, like, 30, 35, 40, way up there, the balancing is completely broken. And it's an even worse experience. So I didn't even have the whole picture when it came to the Dark Zone when I reviewed the game, and I was already saying that the Dark Zone just wasn't as good as it was. It seemed like it was even better in the beta. But anyway, I've already said way more than I originally planned on. So earlier in the month, we had the Uncharted 4 multiplayer beta, and I was actually able to get Diego to come in. We played this a bit together. Their stress test. First off, the game has actually been delayed for like the 3rd time or whatever, so it's now coming out May 10th. But, Diego, what were your thoughts on...
Visually, it's very nice, but besides the little things you could do online, gameplay-wise, it seems rather the same. Like, say, except for the rope swing, that was a nice little big feature they added, but... I feel, personally, that thing's going to get overused in the campaign.
Yeah, I think, it's definitely a possibility. So, Marshall, I know you actually played it a little bit on my PS4. What did you think of it?
It just seemed kind of basic and boring to me. I don't know. I don't really like those kind of games, so it's just third-person shooter, whoop-de-doo, who cares?
Yeah. Well, for me, it's like there's not very many third-person shooter multiplayers out there, and I really liked it. I really loved the Uncharted 2 multiplayer when I played it, and it's very similar to the Uncharted 2 with some of the elements that Uncharted 3 apparently tried to introduce, but only they've done them way better in this one. But I would say like the game has changed like a lot more, like not just graphically, but it's for one the frame rate or the multiplayer runs at 60 FPS, and the guns, like the recoil on it, is like some of the most realistic recoil I've seen in the game. I'm not so sure about how the skill point system is going to do the unlocks, but in the beta they did it a little bit differently, and than the full version. And you unlock pretty much everything really quickly that way. So I'm not. Hopefully, just like provided the leveling is, paced correctly in the full version, I think that should work out to be a really good multiplayer. Also, Mass Effect Andromeda, I have this on my list. It's got delayed again, or just not delayed again, but delayed for the first time. I saw this one coming from a mile away. For the second they announced it, they're like, "Oh, it'll be probably 2016." I was like, "Heck no, it's not gonna be 2016. It's 2017." So I don't know why they just didn't say 2017. Maybe they wanted to get people more hyped or something like that. So delayed, Can't say I didn't see that one coming. Okay, so some of the biggest news this last month comes out of Microsoft's camp, and a lot of stuff involving the Xbox and Microsoft's support of PC. So, a lot of the games from Xbox that were Xbox exclusives, for instance, like Forza, is coming over to PC now, and from now on out, all the Forza games are going to be developed for both Xbox and PC. So, and there's quite a few other game franchises. I can't remember what it was. Gears seems like it's going to stay Xbox for now. Halo may actually possibly come over to PC. I think that whatever it's called, like the pirate game, Sunlit, or no, I can't think of what it's called, but that one I think is coming over to PC. But even the hardware could be, transferring, like, because Phil Spencer came out and they really like the idea of like potentially having an upgradable Xbox One and all this stuff, but it doesn't seem like you really could do that. But I mean, I get where they're coming from, where they're trying to support the PC more and all this stuff by because they probably see that PC gaming, it's becoming more popular now, and because of that support, PC gaming is less frustrating than it once was. And maybe they see that the console. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know exactly what they're thinking, but in a sense, they are really kind of devaluing the Xbox One. They're decreasing the incentive for people to go buy that. So I don't know, but okay. Well, let me ask you this: like, for instance, Carl, you have an Xbox One. What if they brought all those games over to PC, and what if they even stopped making games for Xbox One? Would you be incentivized to go out and buy a PC?
Nope. Never been a computer guy.
No. Well, I don't know. Maybe someday you'll
it's just that, like, you can make it look as pretty as you want. Yeah, people keep saying that,
but yet,
But it's just, I don't know.
The average PC gamer only spends about,
I'm not going to get into statistics because I don't know any.
If they ever get on a game, they usually sit in the lobby or stare at the start screen.
I'm not going to get into statistics.
Oh, Marshall can say that's full of crap, probably.
What? Sorry,
well, maybe
Marshall?
for him it's different, but I'm saying for most of them. Because they always talk a big game like PC Master Race, but you have to ask yourself, how much do they actually really play on the PC?
Well, okay, this is interesting that you mentioned this, because a while ago they did mention that apparently the average Steam user, they did something on their graphics card, and their graphics card is like, well, I don't know if it's, but their PC, it was actually less spendy what people thought, and it turns out like there was about 60% of people on Steam that aren't gaming at even like a high or what would be considered an acceptable frame rate by a lot of PC gamers. Well, I shouldn't say acceptable, but they basically were gaming in sub 30, which was pretty big. It might have even been more like 70%. Which
I always just kind of interpreted that as that frame rate isn't that big of a deal to many people.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, if frame rates, like, obviously not all the benefits. To me, it's the biggest benefit of PC gaming. But there's also, there's a lot of different, like, post-processing effects that you can use, and just lighting effects that just the console doesn't even have. So, to make your games look better. And plus, there's the whole modding community that can get behind the games and,
That's true. But at the same time, mods are becoming available for console now, slowly.
Well, just like they're planning on doing that with Fallout 4. But the thing is you can only, because of like the limited space, the way it would work on the console is you wouldn't be able to like have like a ton of mods installed at once. You may be able to have a few mods installed at once, but then you'd have to like delete them and replace them with something else. Whereas on the PC, like you could have a game with like hundreds and hundreds of mods, and you could still run the game fine. But also out of Microsoft, Fable Legends. I don't know if any of you guys were looking into this. Carl, were you looking into Fable?
The only Fable I ever played was like the very original Fable, and it did happen to be on the PC at the time, but.
Yeah. Well, Fable Legends, to me, I saw some gameplay of it when actually hearing about this, and it actually looked like it was quite cool, and I was like, dang, I wish this was on the the PS4 or the PC, because I would buy it. I mean, obviously I'm not going to go out and buy an Xbox One to get it, especially now since it's been canceled, but that game was in development for quite a few years, and without very much warning, the studio developing it, Lionhead Studios in the UK, is just closed down, and the game's no more. And Microsoft recently has actually closed a few other studios, so I don't know. It's some interesting things going on. Also, there's a possibility. Let me tell you something what you think of this. Possibility that Xbox and PlayStation could get cross-platform multiplayer.
Yes, I heard about that. Well, that is happening slowly with a lot of other things. Cross-platform between those two would be quite something.
Well, I think it's better because with the PC with cross-platform between that and the PC, I know there's some free-to-play games like War Thunder. Obviously, you can play cross-platform, but I think the Xbox and the PlayStation are much closer in terms of how they perform, just like online. Like the games are pretty much same. You're playing with a controller, so you're on equal footing there. The games you're running at relatively the same frame rate and stuff like that. But with like a PC, you could have somebody playing with keyboard and mouse, and then they have like a higher frame rate, so they could have a huge advantage in a competitive.
I don't know if huge, but
Well, pretty significant. I mean, especially with the keyboard and mouse, even more so.
Okay, that I'll give you, but frame rate, I don't know.
Well, I mean, especially when frame rate does play a bigger role than what you think.
Considering the statistics you were saying earlier, it doesn't seem to play that big of a factor to most players.
Well, that's just because, like, the thing is, not all Steam users, for instance, even me right now, I would be counted in that statistic, because I'm on Steam, I have a Steam account, but I've only used it on my laptop to play a couple games on it. So, yeah. But yeah, I think this sounds really, really cool, and for the Xbox and PlayStation, it really makes sense, considering they're two very similar gaming systems.
Yeah, but at the same time, they've been rivals. Absolute rivals. And the fact that this is actually being considered is quite something.
Yeah, and Microsoft, they were very open. They seemed to, as I said, there's tons of stuff.
Yeah, but Microsoft was very open to it, but Sony was very vague.
Yeah, they were.
They were very vague on how they were taking it. I don't remember their exact quote, but it seemed like they were appealing more to PC than Xbox when they were saying things.
Well, I don't know. I think it's definitely interesting to consider, and it sounds like they could be doing it on some select games, but I don't see it, at least anytime soon, unless Sony came out and made a statement like, yes, we're going to support this. I wouldn't see it being a thing on, like, the majority of multiplayer games coming out. Also, one other thing coming out of Xbox camp is they announced recently that for Xbox Live, you can actually resell your games on the store now. Similar to kind of like Steam's refund policy. Only this isn't like a refund policy, or it's actually you can refund it, or you can resell it even, you've put like 50 hours into a game, you can still resell it. However, it sounds like, at first it almost sounded like, it's going to be like a trading store and you can like trade it with other people, like that would be cool, but no, you're basically reselling
that would destroy their business.
Code. Yeah, I mean, they already, like, a lot of companies have already made a big enough push, trying to have like online DRM and online passes and stuff like that to try to verify that something has an authentic code, because they don't like it when you buy a used game, because they don't get the as much revenue from it, or they don't get any revenue from it, really. So they try to do these other things to try to make sure they get money off of it. So, yeah, there's a lot of companies have tried to combat used game sales for a while, but with this, they're basically still making some of the money back, pretty good amount of the money. I mean, because really they're only going to lose 10% on you, because that's what it is. It's a 10% trade-in, which is, honestly, it's actually better than what GameStop would give you. So, it's not really, I mean, it seems like a terrible deal, but it's not the worst out there. So, that's interesting, but I think at that low of a rate, not very many people would take advantage of that. I don't know. What about you, Paul? Do you think you'd ever do that?
Sell my Xbox games through Xbox Live?
Like
I'd
digital games that you have, yeah.
You know, I probably would, because they take up a lot of space, and once you're done with them, and if you ever feel like you need it, you can always get it back. And it'll always be a cheap price. The game's prices have gone down significantly, depending on the game you buy, because now that the Xbox One is backwards compatible.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they did pretty much every 360 game, man. It's pretty nice. If only PS4 would do that again, like they did with the PS3.
Well, at least think about it this way. If you're on the PC, you don't have to worry about that.
Well, you get every game.
Yeah. Of course, sometimes, if drivers update, I mean, it's possible.
But you have to realize every game runs differently. And
I know, the same, yeah, like, I remember,
hardware.
I have so many, like, old games that I had on my old computer that don't work anymore because they don't allow me, the newer ones won't run them. Like, I miss those. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting point what you made about, like, every game is different. Well, it's also like every piece of hardware is different, and that's one of the things.
Yeah, it's just that the world is just changing very quickly.
Yeah, going back to Microsoft news and stuff like that, they're almost trying to merge the lines and like turn an Xbox into a pseudo PC kind of, they would like to, at least maybe that's just Phil Spencer talking, but that's the reason people buy a console in the first place is it's cut and dry. You buy a game for that console, you know it's going to run just as good as anybody else's.
And plus, it's also insanely portable and family friendly.
Well, I mean, I guess it's more portable than a PC. I'll give it that.
And you can play it with people at your house too.
And with the PC, like it's capable of doing it, but you're going to get a much more inferior experience. So consoles definitely have their place. PCs have their place, but yeah, with PC hardware, everybody's hardware is going to vary. Everybody's the contents on somebody's computer and the length of time they've owned it can make big differences on how something runs. So that's why they have to have those drivers. So even if I have say I bought a PC now and I have the exact same components that Marshall had in his PC, or we might be running games or even just running a what do they call those? The tests for
benchmark.
Frame rate? Benchmark, yeah. Couldn't think of it for saying. Mm-hmm. But even if I ran a benchmark with the identical hardware to him, we might be getting different results from that benchmark. So, okay. So, as many of you are probably aware, VR has been a big thing that people are talking about.
Yes, and I actually have something to add to that too. For Ace Combat, the new Ace Combat is actually going to be supporting AR, and I'm probably
VR.
At that. VR, right. I don't know why I said AR. Sorry about that.
Yeah, AR is like the HoloLens thing.
Yeah. VR is going to be supported on the new Ace Combat, and that's
nice.
Now,
going to be
that'll really be a game changer.
Okay, so what I was going to say is PlayStation VR, they announced their price, but is the PlayStation VR and like HTC Vive, which ones are going to be supporting it?
Like, wait, say it again.
Which VR headsets are going to be supporting the game?
Oh, I know the PS4 has VR. And
well, yeah, that's
like what are you trying to say?
I don't really get your question.
Well, I'm saying, like, which ones are actually going to be supporting the game, because you say Ace Combat is going to have VR support.
You meant games?
Get support from...
Well, there was this other game I keep
hearing
about
it's going to get support from the PSVR. Is it going to get support from the HTC Vive, the Oculus Rift?
I think it's going to get
Ace Combat is a Japanese game, so I think it's obvious that it's going to support the PlayStation VR.
Yeah. I would assume, Marshall, the Ace Combat games, are they on PC?
No, I don't think so.
I'm kind of curious about that too, are they?
I don't know. Okay, so maybe it's just going to be PlayStation VR, though. But they announced it...
why aren't they? I thought every game was on PC.
No.
Oh.
Are you making a joke? I don't know.
So that was a lot. Oh.
Oh well, there's more. The PC gaming library is even bigger.
I know. I'm just wondering.
Yeah. So
Don't take it too seriously.
That's another
We
thing.
have to realize there's indie games too that they have on the, like all kinds of their own games that you'd never heard of on the PC.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm just making a small joke. Nothing serious.
That you can buy kickstarted and whatnot. But I think the thing that attracts me more to the PC in terms of exclusive games is like the RTS like strategy and like 4X strategy games, because that's something that you never see on console.
All right, so
there might be a couple RTSs. So PlayStation VR announced for $400. However, it does not include its $400 price does not include the PlayStation camera, which you need, and the PlayStation Move, which you also need. So in the end, I
can't say I'm not surprised, because when VR started to come out, there was no way in heck anyone should ever assume it's going to be cheap.
Yeah. Well, because like these are early adopter prices, and maybe 5 years down the line they'll become even more affordable. But yeah, I think the reason the Oculus Rift, for instance, got such a backlash when they announced.
It did get a backlash?
Well, yeah, because they promised, or they were saying, we're going to target about $300 or whatever, but then they released it for $600. With like the HTC Vive, with the PlayStation VR, they never said what type of price they were targeting. So that way, it played it much more safe, so that when they do have a pretty solid price, people aren't going to be upset. But Oculus, they literally said, we're targeting $300, but then they when it came out, they sold it for twice that. But yeah, the PlayStation VR, you can get a bundle, which are like open for pre-orders now. And you can get a bundle which comes with the VR headset and all the other components required. I think that'll run you somewhere around $500, maybe a tiny bit more. So that's kind of like the real price of it. Whereas Oculus is $600, and then you have the HTC Vive at $800. And then I'm not sure how much the Gear VR is, but that only works on like high-end Samsung smartphones. So, yeah, but basically, as you go up the list in pricing, like with each headset, the hardware gets better, because the Oculus Rift.
But how significantly? How significantly of an improvement?
I don't know.
Like, is this improvement worth like such a vast price difference?
Well, let me tell you this: from what I've seen of the HTC Vive, it is clearly, in my opinion, the best one on the market. Although definitely not the most affordable, obviously, but it seems to be the most powerful, the most advanced. It seems to be out. I mean, because the Oculus is kind of more like the sit down and enjoy it VR, but HTC Vive is like the more interactive VR that you'd expect. And same thing with PlayStation VR. That's more interactive because they have the controls and all that. But I imagine you could probably still sit down and play with a controller and still get a pretty good experience out of it just wearing the headset. So, but here's the stupid thing though. I heard though. So, as I said, they're going to sell you the bundle with PlayStation, PlayStation VR and all the other accessories you're going to need. But for some reason, right now, they are not selling the headset by itself. So if you already have a camera and you already have the moves, well, too bad. If you want to reserve a copy right now, if you want to try to put a pre-order down, you can't just buy the headset. You have to buy the bundle. Which it makes no sense. It blows my mind how they overlook that. But
I don't think that's overlooked. I think they just want more money.
Well, that's actually what it is. Yeah, that's what I was going to say next. But yeah, you're right on. So that's the deal. I don't know when. I imagine probably when the official release comes along for it. I imagine that they might put out.
It's easy to see that they're definitely expecting great things from this product. So they're trying to get as much money out of this thing as they can.
Yeah, real quickly though, my take on VR, this is what I'm going to say. I would like to get into it, but I'm not going to get, the early adopter prices are too spendy for my blood. And maybe if I had a chance to try it out at a gaming event, I would be more hyped about it. Some of them look impressive, but here's the thing. For me, when I get into VR, I want to make it worth my while, and I want to invest in the best VR headset, which at the moment seems to be the HTC Vive. But even if the HTC Vive was only $400, like right now, I still would not I would not be planning on getting it as soon as it's available. So, but maybe, someday whenever I do get into VR, I'm going to go with whatever the most powerful, whatever the most revolutionary headset is on the market.
Really? All right.
Yeah.
You're going to have quite the experience then.
Go home, I want the best. I don't want to inferior VR.
A lot of people share that same feeling.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. We got No Man's Sky. Got a release date this month. It's coming out June 21, and this was a shocker to me though. The game is actually a full $60 title. I thought it was going to be like a smaller like PSN game, maybe selling for like $20 or $30, but no, it's actually full $60. I know, Diego, when I mentioned this to you before, you sounded like you weren't all that surprised.
Well, I don't remember the details of that conversation, but I do remember not being surprised.
Yeah. So why would you say that you didn't expect it, or that you did expect it to be $60?
Well, it just seems like a lot of games lately, anyway, that don't really seem like they should be worth $60 are just coming out. It just seems to be a rule that if it's new, it's $60 lately. Like even if the title is not super big.
I'll tell you the reason that I expected it to be cheaper, and a lot of other people did, is because I all of a sudden forgot their name. The studio that's behind No Man's Sky.
Forgive me, I would have given a better answer, but I kind of don't remember the details.
Yeah. Well, okay, well, I'll tell you, this is why I expect it, was because it's coming from a team that's basically like an indie development team. They're only like a few guys, and it just seems like a production of it doesn't seem like a AAA production. And I wouldn't even say the game is necessarily AAA. I mean, it has a AAA price, but like the gameplay and all that stuff to me doesn't seem AAA. I mean, it's really cool what they're going for. Like there's some like septillion or quintillion, I don't know, some weird crazy number is how many planets it can produce, which pretty much nobody's ever gonna get to that many planets. So it might as well just be like infinite planets. But I still have to see whether or not those planets would actually be interesting, or if they're just going to be really, like kind of cookie cutter created by the algorithm, going to be really boring and everything. I don't know. But there's also a $150 collector's edition that's coming to the PC only. Has some kind of cool looking stuff in it, but like I don't know. I've been following No Man's Sky because I think it's interesting, and they've been talking about it for so long. I was just wondering, okay, when's this game going to actually release? But I don't really have too much an interest in buying it. It just doesn't look like it's for me. The crazy thing, though, with this game, though, is I looked at... They got a ton of merchandise for this game. Like, a ton of merchandise. Like, there's stuff ranging from, like $5 or $10 or whatever, all the way up to, like, a couple $100 or something like that. And they got probably, like, I saw just briefly, like, probably 8 or 9 pieces of merchandise for this game at least. So it's crazy. Like, they're putting this whole marketing push behind it now, but doesn't seem like they need to be, I would say, more advertising it. But maybe they don't have the advertising dollars, but they found a better way so that they can make the money through merchandise or something. But the thing is that, it's not really like a proven franchise, so I guess they're just really trying to appeal to these, the really hardcore enthusiasts for this game.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Alright, so now, come to Fallout 4's first DLC, which releases this month, the Automatron DLC. I'm going to hand it over to Diego completely.
Okay. Well, it is definitely a fun DLC, but not the most expansive by any means. It definitely adds a lot of new elements, but, let's see, sorry, my dog's here.
How in-depth is the, mech creation, or the robot creation?
The robot creation, you can put together almost any combination of robot you can conceive, in the sense of the robots that you know in the game. Like, say, you could have a sentry leg set with a codsworth body. If you can imagine that. Or just like, say a sentry body but with just a little thruster that holds it up in the sky. It is, you can be quite imaginative with it. The weapons with it, they had a lot of fun for sure. You can tell they had a lot of fun coming up with those.
Yeah, I mean, the trailer was really well put together, too, for this.
Absolutely. The trailer was very... I have that in my favorites. I can watch that thing all day. It's so fun to look at. But the story itself is very, very, very short. I honestly believe you could finish it within a span of 3 hours or less.
Well, here's the thing. Initially, when they announced it, I didn't really expect there to be a story. So I'm kind of glad they did have the story in there.
Yeah.
But because originally I did think even $7, like I thought it was just going to allow you to create your own robots, and that seemed a little spendy just for that. Considering like something like Skyrim came out with like Hearthfire, which was like $5 for all the building stuff you can do there. But I guess like the Wasteland DLC is the equivalent of Hearthfire for Fallout 4, and Automatron is like, yeah. So I guess that justifies the price a lot better. So.
They added some new weapons, not too many, but also a good amount. Just they have now a Soltron sword. Let's see, and also one of the newest and funkiest weapons in there that is definitely fun to use, but definitely shouldn't be used as a go-to weapon, is that now they actually have a new pistol, but it is essentially just an Assaultron head that was ripped off the body, and that you can just simply use as a energy weapon. It works just like the laser musket, where you have to charge up the amount of energy you want to use in the shot. But there is a catch. It is insanely powerful. It is very powerful. But with each use, it irradiates the user. And
well, the same thing as the game again, though. The game
I know, but this one is quite an extreme amount of radiation if you have no protection on. If you have no protection from radiation on, it gives you 50 rads per shot.
Yeah, so I think at that point it's what, like, the 20 shots would kill you if you had 0 rads before.
Yeah, so if you
I'm assuming they're still working on 1,000 rads kills.
If you have maximum protection, then you can shrink it down to 8 rads. On the fully charged shot.
So you're telling me before that the DLC also it created some glitches and bugs?
Yes, the biggest bug that if anyone listening if it's more than 12, thank goodness. The biggest bug that I ran into and was not able to fix because of over quick saving was that if you put the legs of a sentry bot on your robot and you are in the lair of the mechanist, there is a chance that your robot will disappear permanently. You will not be able to find him or get him back no matter what you do.
That's a pretty major...
Yeah, and I spent a lot of resources making my first robot. And I made him pick up so many items that were very valuable, and he ended up disappearing, and I lost everything. I tried reloading saves, but I had not saved I had already saved many times, after he disappeared by accident and on purpose. And I could not go back far enough that where I felt comfortable to get him back. So I ended up just losing a heck of a ton of resources, and I looked it up feverishly to know what in the world happened because I was upset. You
just came and said, "Where's my robot? It's supposed to be following me."
I made him as cool as possible too. I spent so much time.
That really sucks, man.
Yeah, and so I found out that the main reason seems to be the legs that I chose, because he had sentry legs and he disappeared, and apparently that's just been happening with everyone else. But just in case, when I went there with another robot, I saved quite often and always looked behind I actually walked backwards through the entire area, just looking at my robot, to make sure she didn't go anywhere.
So I suppose the big question with this DLC would be, is it worth the purchase price, which I think by itself it's like $7 or $8, something like that?
If it's that much, because I was able to get the season's pass thanks to you. Mm-hmm. It is easily worth that price. Easily worth that price. $6.
Okay, that's good to hear then.
The spoiler alert for the
okay, spoiler, it's going up.
Spoiler alert. The Mechanist is a girl and human. Because I had a friend who thought it was a robot, and it's actually a girl. And she...
Does she have, like, any, like, cyborg parts? It's like...
No, just kind of a nerd girl who basically had her own superhero in her head, and she wanted to make it a reality.
That's cool. They're bringing back some of the... I feel like the base game of Fallout didn't have this as much, but it seems like they're bringing back some of that humor that they had in the previous game.
It wasn't honestly made out to be too humorous, though. It was just like... You're supposed to be like, she's a girl moment. And the thing about it is that there is actually secret dialogue if you go in dressed as the Silver Shroud.
Oh, nice. I haven't done that enough in the game. I did it for a while.
It's actually pretty cool. I looked into it, and it looks like it's ripped out of the pages of a comic book from the early days, where like you have like the literal conversation that you would see a hero in a book have with the villain. And then the main idea of the story is that she thought she was doing good, and she actually made this robot army to help the Commonwealth. But they misinterpreted their orders and felt that the best way to help humanity was, by destroying it. So that's where the whole thing comes from. She doesn't know that her robots are doing this, and then you kind of have to confront her about it.
The robot revolution. It's like Borderlands, the claptrap revolution, kind of. Not really, though. Well, let's hope the rest of Fallout 4's DLC is also as good as this one and justifies the price.
The next one...
Not the pricing, especially at Far Harbor. Like
The Far Harbor one, I hear, from what they say, is going to be like the largest landmass expansion ever.
Yeah. I imagine it's going to be, from what I've seen, the look of it reminds me a lot of Lookout for Fallout 3. A lot of other people have probably made that comparison. But it's maybe less swampy. This is more kind of just like coastal with rocks and stuff. Whereas with Point Lookout, when the Fallout 3 DLCs, that was like much more of like a swampland, kind of like the Bayou or something like that. But it had some elements up there where there's some rocks and there's like a lighthouse and all that stuff. Okay, so gotta wrap this up now. Battlefield 5, there was previous rumors that it was going to be World War I, but
those are seeming to be false now, because like just thinking about it more and more, it just wouldn't be Battlefield if you couldn't have all sorts of vehicles and tanks like that. And just World War I,
it's not the best war to pick from.
No, just like airplanes, they could handle that, but the tanks were so unreliable and so few in those days that it just seems inconceivable to me that it could be done well.
It wouldn't have been worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and a game like Verdun...
And they were so delicate that literally, like, if you threw a grenade on top of a tank in those days, you would have taken it out.
Yeah.
I mean, a 3-foot ditch could have taken one out, actually. So, there's no way they could match the ruggedness, of what they like to do with basic machine fire in the right spots.
They also hinted... I don't know if you've heard about this, but they hinted about the next Call of Duty
in space. Yes, I heard about that.
That's what we were going to talk
No,
about.
that's not what I was going to say, but I was going to say that Infinity Ward is going to be in charge of production.
Exactly. I had that on my list. I actually had it before Battlefield 5, but Call of Duty is going to be at E3. They announced this, and it's going to be produced by Infinity Ward. So I was expecting like a Modern Warfare or something like this, but it probably will be.
They're done with Modern Warfare.
The story's concluded.
Okay. Well, it's gonna be similar to Modern Warfare.
I mean, if you want to play as a 70-year-old Captain Price, I mean, go ahead.
It's gonna be they're all gonna be resurrected and they're gonna be in space.
No, he's gonna be running around stealthily in a wheelchair. It's like take him out of there.
No, like before they died, they like downloaded their memory into computer banks like some aliens did, and then you play as like.
Okay, now that's the plot of Black Ops 3.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Wait, what?
Downloaded their memories into the computer banks. That's basically.
Well, I mean, like he said, aliens. There wasn't.
Well, like aliens would do. Like I was saying, because like obviously people. Well, like it just when last Modern Warfare game, like Modern Warfare 3, like they don't have that technology at that time period. But it's like if aliens like downloaded, like I don't know, like abducted them and then like downloaded their memories, like that's the premise.
Well, that's the interesting thing is that like this one is supposed to be taking place in the far, far future, as in it's going to be in space where this one's going to be. So, who knows? Like a lot of people are making comparisons to like it may be similar to Destiny in style.
I think it's
who knows how far they're actually thinking of going.
I think it's still going to be a first-person shooter or just like a
absolutely
FPS.
That part like it has to.
If they change that, it would never be Call of Duty again.
Yeah. There are certain elements that have to stay the same.
That's what I'm saying. Like it. Well, I mean, I guess it wouldn't be Call of Duty, but still, part of me obviously still would like to see them do something different. Although
the fans would be in uproar.
The RPG genre is almost these days an open world games, but more so open world games than just RPGs. But even the RPG genre or like pseudo RPGs, the market's getting kind of oversaturated with them now. So I don't know. I don't think they would ever make Call of Duty into like an RPG with like skill points, even if they keep it linear. Like it just doesn't seem like as good of a fit. But yeah, going back to Battlefield 5 though, what kind of a setting do you think it's going to be in? Because I mean, as I said, like proof that one can be done.
Maybe the Cold War. The Cold War might be a fun one.
Okay, yeah, Cold War. That would be. I mean, although it's
Oh, actually, wait, never mind. I think there actually might have been rumors about it involving fighting the Russians off in Europe. I think I actually heard something about that.
Okay. So, a little bit different from recent Battlefield, but it's not too big of a deviation. So.
I mean, so far the last, 3 have had, it's Russia, US, and now Russia, US, and China. And because this one actually centers around Europe, they may add, for all we know, the British or German faction. Like because vehicle-wise...
Or just multiplayer.
Like on multiplayer, like vehicle-wise. Probably even in the campaign, because that's the campaign's point of view. Because like they could easily have the vehicles to, man. It'd be interesting to see, instead of the basic US and Russian tanks, we'd see like the British Challenger in the game, and that'd be something to see. Or... For jet-wise, the Typhoon, of course, or the Eurofighter Typhoon.
So, Marshall, what's your opinion on all this? I know you haven't said much, so...
On what?
On stuff.
I think he's been gone.
Yeah, well, okay. This next thing, though, you guys should all have something to say about this. So, Telltale Batman, obviously, is coming. Sounds like summer is when the first episode's gonna premiere.
I actually surprisingly have not kept up on that.
Yeah, well, so apparently the only details we really have, other than the trailer that was shown at the Game Awards, which the interesting thing is...
Wait, there's a trailer now?
No, at the Game Awards, apparently they showed it. I didn't watch the Game Awards, so I didn't know about it until actually...
Oh my gosh!
I didn't see that trailer until today. So, but basically all we know about it is it's in modern day setting, and it's an entirely new adaptation of Batman. We haven't seen it before. He's not in any animated series, so it's a new adaptation. I imagine it will still be fairly similar to the comics, but anyways, I thought the cool thing about the trailer is although it's modern day, like it still evoked this really like noir kind of atmosphere and mood to it. So it's pretty cool. So I really like Marshall's input on this because like I know me and Marshall played a lot of Telltale games, but I think you have more than I have. So what are you really expecting, or what would you expect out of this game?
I'm hoping it's as good, at least as good as, what's it called? Wolf Among Us. The same kind of, dark. I don't really want a kids-friendly, if that makes any sense. Yeah. I want a dark Batman, because it's what more I like.
It's going to be rated M, so that's already...
Yeah. It is rated M.
Good
wow.
Stuff.
Something.
I want it at least 6 episodes. And, I don't know, I just want a compelling story, good characters. I want to see some other characters, DC characters than Batman, like maybe some Justice League guys in there.
I don't know about that. I know they said they're not going to have, like, Robin probably, but, like, it seems like a lot of...
No, they're not saying that, like, something like...
No,
not like, actual, like, main other leaguers, maybe, like... they'd have to pick a character whose life is pretty dramatic in a sense and deep.
Well, I'll say this: from what it sounds like, it is so very much centered within Gotham. There doesn't seem to be any.
Okay, I mean, like they could do a Green Arrow one because I could easily imagine like a lot of QuickTime events.
I expect it to be early in Batman's career because they also mention a lot of people like Detective Gordon and all this. But at the same time, they do say there's going to be some other maybe less known, definitely some well known.
Of course, you need like A-listers, C-listers.
But there will also be a good mix of some of the more obscure ones, and I think that'll be cool. But since they're maybe that means he's further on in his career, but I think it'd be interesting if they might be kind of tricky, but if they spread out the series over a somewhat large period of time in Batman's career, like maybe 10, 15 years.
There could, another interesting thing they could go with it is, just early years, the next episode could be a couple years later where he's more developed, and all of a sudden...
As I said, it would be tricky, but I feel like they're not going to go that route because...
It's definitely going to be... I definitely expect it to be just a story.
Yeah, it would just be the pacing. It would be very hard to get the pacing right, and... So, in transition...
the one thing that easily could be taken advantage of, that's definitely not ever taken advantage of enough in, media, is the detective aspect of his life. I mean, he's titled, as a comic book character, the world's greatest detective. That is definitely never shown.
Comics.
Yeah,
So.
And he's by Detective Comics.
So.
That's where he was first published. That is never shown enough, in my opinion, and they could easily go a lot of routes with this. But at the same time, it being a Telltale game, mistakes can be made, but at the same time, how could the world's greatest detective make mistakes, or... It definitely would have to be handled interesting.
That's another, it would definitely be interesting how they would handle this, but that's another thing that makes me think that it's going to probably be a very early and very young Batman.
Yeah, that could be a good way to handle it.
So, that's pretty cool. So also on the topic of DC, closing statement before we end this, we actually went really long this time, way longer than I thought we would, but Batman vs. Superman, the movie, we both had conflicting opinions.
We don't speak about that movie.
Yeah, Diego and Carl don't really like it. Me and Marshall liked it.
I even talked to a coworker, and he was like, "Oh, it was awesome," and I was like, "What?" He's like, he said it was like a Frank Miller style or something like that.
Yeah, the book.
As far as how dark Batman was, it was.
It was definitely very Frank Miller-esque, but at the same time, a lot of people didn't even like Frank Miller's book to begin with.
I don't like Frank Miller's book now that I've watched the movie.
Well, you don't know the book is bad.
For what it was, I think they did a good job. But for what I wanted,
for what the actors were told to do, they did an excellent job.
So this is basically what I would say. I've said this to a couple of people since then. So here's the thing. If you're going into this movie expecting, especially related to the characters, if you're expecting to see the same characters that we've known, how the different interpretations of Batman, like obviously comic book fans are not strangers to a different interpretation of the character, but these characters, they take more liberties with them than they ever have before. So if you're going in expecting the specific character that you've seen before, you're definitely not going to get that. So I would say go in, more open-minded, and hopefully that will increase the odds of you enjoying this movie. So, I think
it does stumble over itself. You can't. I mean, I didn't like this movie personally for a lot of reasons, but I cannot point the finger at any particular single individual.
Well, I would say Lex Luthor is kind of.
No. I mean, not in that sense. Where the entire story for me was just there was so much in there that it was so hard to follow everything. And I can see why they put so many things in there because they were probably just told we have to keep up because there's already 2 Avengers movies.
DC's being impatient. They're rushing it, and they made some big mistakes. And I know after the movie,
so just
you said you were afraid for future movies, and I said no, I think it would be good. I think the part where you would be correct about that is in terms of the speed that they're trying to.
And I mean, and I think I can easily see why the movie is doing not very well critically in a sense where you have to be a fan to understand an enormous amount of references in this movie. Because if you go in without very much knowledge at all about the DC universe, you are not going to understand so many things that happen in this movie.
Well, I also think, as I said before, though, also knowing all that could,
I mean, like, there were so many references, an insane amount of references in this movie.
Yeah, well, I still think, as I said, like, even knowing more about it, though,
many different books,
could contribute.
But going in without knowing these references impacted the movie devastatingly.
Yeah. But it
works
going
with
with
a
more
double-edged sword.
so it has more. I don't know. It's
It's just like that's why critically, like, say, spoiler alert if you haven't, the Flash makes an appearance in this movie, and if you don't watch the Flash, I mean, like, it's hard not to know about the Flash, but he shows up for his screen time is about like less than 2 minutes, but like
well, it's just kind of
the first time you see him, he's so unrecognizable. I would have not known.
I recognize
the Flash. I mean, like, I would have not known that was the Flash, but I actually heard that he was going to be doing that. That's the only reason I recognized him.
Yeah, I didn't know who was like. Yeah, he didn't have the appearance of what I thought he looked like.
No, he was actually wearing an armored suit.
But
like
when
bulky armored
but when
suit.
I saw him, like, as soon as he came up in the movie, I knew immediately it was him. So
they were trying to hide his identity, though, for only diehard fans. That was the point.
The thing is, I'm not a diehard fan, and I recognized it instantly.
I know, but like, what was it that like let you off? That would have been
well, part of it was like the blur and the kind of like the color scheme as well. If you look very closely, it seems like you can actually like make out some like the symbol on his chest and stuff like that. Yeah, and then especially.
And
like,
then another problem I had is that there were many scenes in this movie that were supposed to be rather serious, but actually came off comedic. Like, say, even in the first 20 minutes, like, let's be honest, when the bats lifted up Bruce, no one was.
Well, that was
in awe. They were all laughing.
Yeah, that was a dream.
I know.
Like, I was starting to be like, oh, come on, please tell me.
I know, but like.
But then, I mean, it was like, okay, this has to be a thing. I was like,
but
thank
there
goodness
were dreams
it
throughout the entire movie, so it made sense.
I know, but like, there was even a dream within a dream, and it just got so confusing and it was just all over the place for me. It's just like.
I think it does some of that cleverly though, and it's okay. But I think where the movie's biggest fault, other than like the characters,
and even say like
the different interpretations of the characters, I think the movie's biggest fault is that they don't really set up any basis for why these characters act the way they do. What the
exactly that's
motivation
another
is,
humongous reason.
and that's the biggest fault.
And also like let's see,
from a plot perspective.
Ooh. Darn, I had a reason. I kind of just forgot it now. What was it? Oh, man. I wanted to say more on it. I can't remember. Darn short-term memory.
Yeah. You guys have been listening to us for an hour now. I might try to cut a bit of this down just so it's shorter, but we went way longer than I wanted to. But anyways, you guys stuck around this long. You guys are troopers. So.
Yes, all 12 of you.
Yeah. Hopefully, I would hope we could get 12. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Had fun talking about this amongst ourselves, and hopefully you guys, thought of some interesting things as well. I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments on some of the stuff that we've talked about as well. But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and until next time, we'll see you guys in the next video.